This one stock can change early buyers' lives. I'm not a financial advisor, but some financial advisors might say, given the research that I've done and show in this video, that it's a good idea to buy as much as possible of this stock before December 1st. The ticker is QS, QuantumScape. It's a solid-state lithium-ion battery company. And they just had their first customer billings of $10 million in Q3. Now, that might not sound like a lot, but they do have $1 billion of liquidity, giving them a strong runway into 2026, 2027, and at current cash burn into 2030. They do have a partnership with Volkswagen, and the battery sector is starting to turn up after we've had a slight sell-off in the SPY. There is one other stock I want to make everyone aware of. If you're more cautious, this stock has $1 billion of revenue guidance for 2026. So it's much bigger. The ticker is CECO, CECO Environmental. They do air and water quality. It's an industrial stock. And if you're new to this channel, we've had some pretty incredible results this year. So I just want to take a second to highlight those. The solar company went up 37% in a little over a month after it was mentioned on this channel. This energy company went up 200% in just 2 months after it was mentioned on this channel. Semiconductor stock up 100% in 45 days after we mentioned it here. This battery stock up 90% after we mentioned it here in just 1 month. So those have led to some pretty impressive results in the Discord. Here's one member who made $10,000, and this member made $6,500. So I'm not here to say that those results will be yours. I don't guarantee any results, whether you join or just watch these videos. But we do have a $19 Cyber Monday deal. You can take advantage of that 7-day trial at stockscommunity.com. It's the first link in the description. This is not financial advice, but let's jump into a breakdown on QS.
This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
So here's the chart first off, and I do want to pay some close attention to the chart here because we're at a time where if we look at the SPY, 4 big green days in a row up, Bitcoin having a slight bounce, gold up recently, a little down day today, but mostly up. And sure, the dollar's slightly down, the 10-year bond is slightly down, and this is all not unexpected. Small caps are up. The tech stocks are going up with the market, of course. And the healthcare stocks are still up, but there's starting to be a little more of a rotation into big tech stocks and little tech stocks like QuantumScape, where speculation money is starting to flow back in. I'm not saying it's a good idea to start buying quantum stocks like some of these, or rare earth stocks like some of these. They've sold off significantly. So while you might get a little bounce, it's not super likely. There's a lot of other sectors that might be interesting. If you look at, well, some stocks you can just tell by the look of the candles that it's a little bit choppy and a little bit slow moving. So that might not be for you. Others look like they're setting up, and you can tell that from the sector, you might not want to own them. This is a biotech stock when you look up the ticker TVTX. So that could result possibly in a drop like QURE or NTLA. So you have to be a little bit careful to look into the ticker once you get a read on it. But in general, QS, just based on the chart alone, looks like it's turning up slightly, leveling off. And once it can get above this level of 1250, where it held back in September, the end of September notably was the end of a really big run in the market. QS just kept marching on. There could be a move up here to those 14s, 15s. So that is the report for QS. Of course, if it doesn't go up, these days are so tight that you can just sell out for a small loss, which is how this idea is more responsible than others you might see. So this is that cash in the bank, $1 billion in liquidity. And they're in auto parts, they're in batteries specifically. They're in California. So it's a relatively trustworthy place to have a battery startup. They are a startup. They are definitely riding on the coattails of Volkswagen a little bit. They do solid state lithium ion batteries for electric vehicles, potentially usable in broader energy storage context. And what that means, one application is energy storage. So Bill Gates is an investor. I didn't realize that, but generally investors are listed here in the filings, the ownership, but sometimes the amount that someone invests might not bring them into news stories, or they might be investing through a fund, which is why that might not have shown up. But the Volkswagen agreement is really the main point of interest. It's a big partner. So for a company that only has 10 million of revenue, having a big partner, it's basically the equivalent of a biotech having a partnership with Novo Nordisk or Pfizer or Merck. So they're out of Stanford. This is this investment from that partner that was about 7 years ago now, but they've put in hundreds of millions of dollars. And this did come out of a special purpose acquisition company, a SPAC. Of course, 2020 was a bit of a SPAC graveyard. There were a lot of companies that got those shares redeemed for $10 a share, and some that survived, and QuantumScape has survived. So we'll see how they continue on. Obviously, 2020 was a very euphoric time, so them surpassing the value of Ford was short-lived. And, you know, this was an easy time to be a short seller or a short report writer in 2021. Since then, they've just been working on the product quietly. 15 minutes is very fast. And this is the fruits of that partnership. This battery prototype, which has a very low capacity loss. And this is the real meat of the partnership, is high volume production. So we'll see if that comes to fruition. That was from last year, but it seems like this company is legitimate. They have all the markings of a legitimate company. Stanford, now Bill Gates, which I just noticed, Volkswagen, and the literal chart, which shows that, sure, they've had some sell-offs, but they definitely caught fire in a good way recently. Notably, this other battery storage company did have a little fire, but they're saying it wasn't involving their batteries, and their stock seems to be doing fine. So that's good for the sector. Solid Power is another stock in the sector that sold off just like QuantumScape and is sort of leveling off here. So I anticipate, I could be wrong. I'm actually wrong quite a lot, but when I'm wrong, I try to not be wrong by a very big dollar amount or percent amount. And so there's stocks like Wolf, which I did mention a few days ago, which are leveling off, and it did form a higher low and then had a big move up. Cipher and Iron could do, well, Cipher already did that. Iron, I think, is still working on it. These are the Bitcoin miner turned AI data center compute providers, which could turn up in the near future. But right now, the focus is on QuantumScape. Could it build a higher low and then, really go after that? Could it just have a move up directly? We'll see, but it's definitely in the conversation of traders, which is what you want, because this is a $10, $15, $12 stock. It's not on the eyes of huge funds, even though there's plenty of liquidity for any individual, any high net worth family office. There's $100 million a day. So it's easy to put a few million in, barely move the stock at all, and look for a move of, 10% or something on that, which a couple $100,000 or less or more is no joke. So that's the idea. I understand not everyone likes these $10 stocks. So for that reason, there is another stock that looks interesting, and it's CECO Environmental. It is a $2 billion stock. Of course, the market caps are not that different. I mean, QuantumScape's market cap is actually $7 billion. But notably, CECO has this revenue guidance of about $1 billion for next year. So there's that outlook. Revenue projected at $850-950 million for 2026. And here's the stock right now. It clearly had a solid Q2 earnings. The reaction was excellent. And yes, that coincided with the market going up in September. But since the chop has happened, the price of the stock hasn't really come down, which is a super strong indicator that it could keep going up as the market turns up. They did have this earnings reaction, which was a little wonky here in late October, which we see right here. But it bounced right back. And why it's on watch right now is look at this. Look at this strength over the past 4 days, along with this sell day, which created this nice flag. So if you look at a company like Wolf, you can't really buy this right now. Right? It just went up 30%, had 4 green days in a row. So it's probably going to have a day like this at some point, or even a smaller day, just an inside day or a sideways, little red day. So it's rather makes more sense to just let that happen. So rather than get caught in it, I think it makes more sense to look at a company like CECO. And entries really matter, whether you get in here at $52 or if it sells off and you get in at $50. That couple dollars, let's say you put in, you have a $500,000 portfolio, you put 10%, $50,000 in there. That is the difference of 2%, which is $1,000 right there just in getting your entry right. So I think it does matter. I think the liquidity is definitely good enough. And to say exactly what it is, it's 100,000 times $50 means 5 million, means $100,000, $200,000. You're barely going to move the stock at all. Obviously the spread is all messed up right now, the bid and ask, because it's after hours as I'm recording this, but I don't think you're going to have any trouble with a couple $100,000 position in this stock. So it's a nice alternative to QuantumScape. It did have solid revenues. 200 million is a 50% almost year over year increase. And they have this backlog, which is also a 60% year over year increase. So they do. It's a little bit of a niche sector, pollution and treatment controls. So there's not a lot of companies that get talked about on, whatever it is, CNBC, MSNBC, that they all want to talk about the AI companies, right? They don't want to talk about any sort of emissions management or energy efficiency or ESG. ESG is almost slightly in the, not so cool category of stocks to talk about right now, maybe just given the current administration. But this company does a lot of different things. I mean, industrial air, water, battery production, recycling is definitely in that green segment. Dallas is, Texas is sort of do whatever you want, but still, a lot of these companies need a company like CECO. We can look into exactly what they do because it doesn't really make a ton of sense that companies would just hire them as a consultant, but they're making a lot of money, $200 million a quarter. And this is what they've been up to. They spun off part of their business, $100 million for that. And they also, it sounds like they sell actual products. So it's not like they're a consultant verifying other companies' ESG or carbon credits or anything like that. That makes more sense. I think they're literally helping companies save money by choosing more environmentally friendly products that actually make up their industrial centers. So pumps literally for their factories or warehouses. So we'll see if this company is in it for the long term. I'm not really worried about that. It's more about how it's setting up right now. And we can look at these peers in just a second to get a better grasp on what they're doing. But I can tell you, there are a lot of investors who, sadly or sort of savantly, don't look at what a stock does. Okay, they just look at this buying and this breakout and this earnings reaction, and they see a stock that went from 20 to 40 in a handful of months and is setting up. But now again, there's definitely buying that's trailing off a little bit. So price is going up while the volume is trailing off, which means, sure, there might not be a ton of buying, but more importantly, there's not a lot of people selling. So these big candles are big, but remember, this was also, November 12th, November 13th. It's been choppy in the market, and CECO is holding up impressively despite a time when a lot of big stocks in the market. Just remember what AMD looks like. I don't have to tell anyone who's been looking at the market, but this stock is down 20% just in the last couple weeks, 3 weeks. So not the case for this company. Serious relative strength to the market, and it looks like it's setting up well. And one last note just on their peers. Pollution treatment control, industrial pollution, combustion emissions, and filtration, pollution control, industrial services, water treatment. So these seem like basically utilities companies. So the easiest way to look at these rather than individually, and in the sake of name of time, is industrial. So XLU is a way to look at it. Utilities. And you can see that sort of turning up nicely. So that's the stock. Those are the stocks. QuantumScape and CECO Environmental. If you like these ideas, hit that like button. Helps the YouTube algorithm, which is just people, find this video. If you want a free course on how to buy stocks before they go up, hit that subscribe, and that'll be posted in the YouTube post once a month for subscribers. If you want to take advantage of that $19 Cyber Monday trial, and you could get results like the testimonials that I showed earlier in the video, head over to stockscommunity.com. You'll see those testimonials in full, and you can try that out for 7 days. I'll see you in the next one.
This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.